Hello, good evening. Welcome to Ubuntu channel. This is a special edition of Ubuntu Sports, and we are live again on Facebook. We are live on Twitter, and we are also live on YouTube. Just search for Ubuntu channel Zambia. Don't forget also to share this broadcast because we have an interesting story. We want to know exactly what happens in the women's national team camp when they go for a camp or when they are called for the national team. What really happens there? And of course, social media has been debating of really about this topic exactly because the person that wrote different articles on this issue is joining us this evening. I'm Reuben, the host of this program tonight. Good evening, Augustine. Welcome to Ubuntu Sports.
Good evening, Reuben. Thank you very much for having me on Ubuntu. It's always a
Uh,
pleasure.
yeah, it's been well since you last featured. I don't know if you can remember, but it was the time when you were doing the build up to the game between Zambia and Nigeria at the WAFCON.
Yes, 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 yes. I remember that day. That was an exciting day. The girls did their best, and it was very, very good to see them, go all the way and at least reap a bronze medal.
Great. So tonight's topic to our viewers is the sex scandal. We need to know the truth of what happens in the women's national team camp. But Augustine, before we do that, it's been well since you last reached here. Uh, And last week, there was a lot of news in the world of football here in Zambia, and one of it is that Asanovic and FAZ have parted ways. I don't know if you that news really has reached America.
I mean, the news, the world has become a global village. So everything that happens in real time, anyone who follows the news will be able to know. Fortunately, being a journalist myself, I've been paying attention to the developments around Asanovic, and even knowing, the background machinations that have been going on. Um, it's unfortunate that it had to come to this. I think if we, as a people responsible for football, were sincere, we would have averted this situation. Asanovic had put down his demands.
Yeah.
He wanted to have his contract respected. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Um, and I think it led to the two parties going separate ways. But even if they were going separate ways, they were refusing certain things. There was a story by my colleague Kennedy Gondwe about the coaching staff not being paid, about the coaching staff being evicted. And, unfortunately, the Football Association dismissed all that as force. But now look at what has happened. We've come to learn exactly what those stories were talking about is what has happened, and we don't have a coach. As a country, we are coachless. Even when we're going to Mali, we were being told that Asanovic has named the team, when in fact not. These people had been pulling each other in opposite direction. They had been in a tug of war, but they used his name uh, for no apparent reason. He demanded that if he has to go to Mali, he has to be paid everything that was due to him. They accommodated him in a place that to him was inhabitable. There's no electricity. Apparently, electricity supply was erratic. Rather, there was electricity, water supply was erratic, and he demanded that he leaves and goes into a hotel. And they are saying that he owes them for the hotel fees. It's just been so much going on around Asanovic. You remember that he was supposed to be at the COSAFA at a certain time. He didn't go, and he wasn't informed. I think they disrespected him. There were allegations that he didn't respect the team. They accused him of being a racist, for instance, and all those things got to him.
Augustine, as what told the communication from FAZ was that it was just a visa issue before he joined the camp.
Absolutely not. It doesn't take very long to get a South African visa for anyone who is an official of a national team. All you need is a phone call. The issue of visas um, exceptional. There are exceptions in getting visas. You and me might not get a visa easily to South Africa if we were to travel as individuals because we are traveling there in our private capacity. But if you're traveling as a team, there are considerations that are taken into place. Stanovich was not traveling on his own. He was traveling with the Zambia national team for a tournament that has been there, planned maybe for 3, 4, 6 months. And
Yeah.
how come you couldn't be in a position to organize a visa, in that period? You can't buy that story. I mean, it's like saying you take the team to the UK for a tournament against Ghana. You failed to raise a team because of visas, and you say, no, it's because of visas that we didn't manage to raise a team. Then why were you going to the UK? That visa issue was a part of events that led to the frustrations. If anything, if Asanovic had lost the COSAFA, he was going to be fired after the COSAFA. That's the information that was coming out of camp. Asanovic, for instance, didn't appoint Moses as his assistant. Moses was imposed on him by the FA. And he tells it all. If you look at the interview, if you look at the correspondence, he tells it all. I think we want to be very careful the way we're going to handle the issue. Soon as Asanovic goes to FIFA, we are going to pay him as a country not only what he's claiming, but he'll be paid with interest. We have to learn from how Dario Bonetti left and how he ended up winning a case at FIFA. FIFA sides with players, FIFA sides with coaches. And I can assure you that soon as Asanovic goes to FIFA, we are going to pay huge for not respecting the contract. We might pay the entire contract.
Yeah. So let's look at the way Asanovic came in. He came in as a technical director, then he was appointed as a coach, and also when you look at uh, his assistant then, Mr. Moses Sichone, who is acting coach now, he also came in a similar way. He came in as an assistant coach. By the time the team was going to Ivory Coast, he just joined the team, and then now he's acting coach. Do you think maybe FAZ saw something that Asanovic maybe may not manage this job? Let's prepare someone to take over from him. Looking at the way Sichone came in.
No, you see, the problem is when you're not transparent, you try to cover one thing after another. I think Kasanovic was a strict person. So he didn't allow anyone to interfere with national team selection. He was very strict. He set his boundaries. And there were limitations from those who ran football as to what or how they could call the shots for the national team. And that's how come they found it difficult to work for Asanovic. You remember that Asanovic, when he was coming, they told us that they've got some agreement with Croatia, and some exchange program of some sort, and that's why Asanovic was coming as an assistant. Um, Personally, as Augustine, I, for one, do not think expatriate coaches are the solution for Zambian football, or foreign coaches. I think we've got enough human resource. What we lack is the ability to train or upgrade that human resource. We also lack the equivalent motivation that we give to expatriate or foreign coaches, and we also don't respect them. And if you've observed, this is why for a person like Wetson Urenda, um, is hard, or they find him hard to work with, because he understands and he knows that we would rather respect somebody who's coming from outside than our own. And I think that's what he has refused to be treated. So he sets his boundaries, and that's why he's not there. I think, we should have kept weights on your end. And if we can, we should train local coaches to be able, to run all national teams, because we are a country that is blessed with abundant soccer talent. We don't have to scrounge, we don't have to work beyond extraordinary. We don't have to go extraordinary, but we have to just make sure that we sprayed our selection. We are not biased in terms of those we call to the national team, and we can come up with a good national team with a local coach. But we I don't know if it's inferiority complex that affects us, and we settle for expatriates, rather than our own. You tell me, from the time Sivan, Mitchell, and now Asanovic came, which local coach have we deliberately assigned into training, in an event that the three leave, or in an event that an expatriate leave, who take over and become the main coach? There is none. We are basically doing guesswork. We bring, you know, um, this coach here, we bring Oswald, we want to keep him there. Then we remove him, we take this one, then we bring Moses Chone. It's picky not picky dolly kind of management with our national team coaches. That's what I think. And because in 7 years you have 9 coaches. How do you explain that? A coach's philosophy, cannot be implemented on a team overnight or in a year. That's practically impossible. Mm.
All right. Let's switch now to the women's team. The ladies seems to be doing very well, and just from winning a COSAFA
Mhm.
uh, tournament for the first
Yeah.
time. Just want to get your quick comment over that.
Um, I mean, kudos to the team. Winning the COSAFA was very nice to watch. I'm happy for them. They're doing extremely well. They beat South Africa, and they went on to win it. That was exceptional. I didn't watch the COSAFA tournament as much as I did the Africa Cup, of course, because I was busy with other stuff. But I think kudos to them for the win. Are you still there? Hey, Ruben, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Sorry, the challenge with my connectivity.
Yeah, I
Uh,
understand.
yeah, I just wanted to find out on the performance of the women's, or your comment on the women's national team, because they seem to be doing very well. They won the bronze medal at the WAFCON. They now they're champions of COSAFA.
Yeah, I think they've been, the girls have been doing very well. They are a good team. They're a good collection of talent. We must commend them for the work they're doing on the pitch. Kudos to them. They're going to the World Cup. I mean, that's the first time it's happening, and we're proud of their achievement. So that's very good. Um, we can't take away nothing from them for their efforts on the pitch.
But in all that, Augustine, last week you just turned the country upside down and saying actually it's not just the winning that happens in the camp. There's also some sex scandals. What is it that you know, Augustine?
Um, it's not the most pleasant things to say, or the most exciting things to do. Um, but there comes a time when we have to set ourselves apart and call a spade a spade. Um, we cannot, know that there's something that is happening and we are not talking about it. I'll give you an example. You're a good player, okay? Something happens, you are dropped, not because you're not capable of being in the team. your friends proceed to go, and they earn a living, a better living than you, who has been unfairly treated for something, you've done, but you should not alone have faced the consequences. What do I mean? There's a player that, the national team, the women's national team, have left out, who was at the Olympics. She played at the Olympics. She's a good defender. She's been left out of the team for the Africa Cup. She's been left out of the team for the COSAFA. Football became her life. It's a livelihood. That's where she was earning. Meaning that whatever her friends, would have earned at the Africa Cup in Morocco, she couldn't. Why? She wasn't injured, but she was just unfairly treated. She was not subjected to,
Hi, Augustine, are you there?
sorry, she was not subjected to a proper internal disciplinary procedure. You just leave her out, and she's going. You take advantage of this girl. Now, because push comes to shove, you have to sacrifice her. I think that is not what it is. But the moment I heard something like that, I began to ask questions. I said, "What is happening with the team?" One answer led to the other. One answer led to the other. It is when I began to learn that, look, it's actually not the senior women's national team. It's all the national teams where members of the technical bench were taking advantage of the players, including some that had done so at their clubs.
So you mean it's not just the national team, also the under 17, the under 23 women's team. There's they've also faced the sexual harassment.
That's correct. Across the board. Then, as I was finding out, I came across a report that was done by three people from, I think one from Canada, the other one from Norway, and the other one should be from England. They did a report. They came to Zambia and they did the findings. They tabulated 8 sports disciplined. Football was one of them. In that report, you can tell that, the abuse is widespread. Now, you needed to put some names to what was happening. Apparently, there was a summary that was submitted to the authorities for action, but nothing was ever done. And we don't even know where the summary is. But the people that did that report know where the summary is, and they can produce it. They can put the names out there. They can put the witnesses out there. You know, of course, it's a very complex issue. People don't normally talk about it, because sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes you just don't want to. It's not our culture to come out and start speaking about some of these, abuses, um, um, in the open.
Yeah, I understand that. Augustine, now
Mhm.
we were together at the time we were doing the build ups to the WAFCON. You were in America. You are not part of the team in Morocco. But how did you know of these scandals happening in the camp?
So, I'll tell you one thing. I've been a journalist for 20 years plus, and women football is something that I have closely followed since 1999. And I followed it because I used to live around the Kawata area, and there used to be a team called Kawata Girls. One of my uncles, my father's young brother, was one of the coaches for those girls. He took them to Norway. They won the Norway Cup, brought them back, and they became the backbone of the national team. I later became a journalist, and I started reporting on women's football. So I've known most of these people for a long time. Um, they too know me, and from time to time, I would talk to them. Okay, so it is the trust that you build with your sources that is very key if they have to share information. So when I began to learn and ask these issues, um, I knew which buttons to press in order for us to get the basic. And when the basic came out, there was a litany of issues that began to build, you know, one thing after another, one thing after another. And when I wrote the first article, I don't know how many phone calls I've received. I don't know how many messages I've received. Um, People are scared to talk about it. Why? Because club officials are threatened with bans. If you talk about if you criticize FAZ, you're banned for life. You'll never do anything with football. But they've been in women's football for a long time. They would rather be in women's football and keep quiet than talk, because they'll be told you're talking about against FAZ, you brought the name of the association into disrepute, you're banned. Then you're gone. You lose out of your investment. This is what some of them are fearing. They can't talk, but they're able to come and say what you're saying is true. This is happening. They're tabulating stuff that is disappointing. It's saddening when you hear what these people are saying. This is why I'm saying, why don't we set up an independent inquiry? Okay, let's guarantee that the people will not will be
Be
protected,
victimized.
will not be victimized. There'll be there's no one who will be banned. There'll be no one who will be alienated from football for basically speaking out even before that tribe. If anything, let the names not go out. Let the tribunal itself prepare the report, or whichever, an inquiry, prepare the report and publicly submit what they would have found out. Let them invite the people to come and speak. People are ready to speak, but they've said we'll speak to the authorities. We can't. Today, for instance, I was speaking to Mr. Oscar Mwang. He says, look, you've just picked up one person. This thing is beyond one person. Okay. And rather than me speak so much, I want to speak to the authorities. That proposal that you are putting up of asking for an inquiry, I think is the best route to go, because those are the people we want to talk to. So that's what they are saying. Can we give them that opportunity? It's up to the authorities. If the authorities think that no, it's like, I think we've heard the minister doubted. I think you're saying that there's somebody was saying there's a video where the PS is denying. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they can deny. Now the next step will be to go to FIFA. Will be to go to the International Olympics Committee, and we'll ask them to investigate. They will do a better job, I'm sure. They will do an independent job. Then who will lose out?
So, in
It's
short, what
important.
Augustine, what you're saying is that even at WAFCON, when our ladies were winning games and were enjoying and were celebrating them, that really they're delivering for Mother Zambia, they were being harassed and abused. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yes. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. This thing is very unique. Okay. You drop three players, right? You drop three players. Of those three players you've dropped for the same reason, you take one. Okay. You take one as a member of the team, and you say they are there just to be part of the team. Why didn't you take the other two also to be there as part of the team, since you're fighting for all three? You're fighting for the cause of all three. Okay,
Mr.
because
Augustine,
this
maybe
thing,
maybe it's because that person is a leader in the team.
um, Enoch Mwepu is the leader in the team, right?
Yeah.
He's a captain right now.
Yes.
He's injured. Why didn't he
Yes.
remain in Bamako if he's a leader in the team? That's the question you ask yourself. Why didn't Enoch remain in Bamako if he's a leader with the team, even if he's injured? So those are the exceptions you look at. Those are the questions you ask yourselves. Then when you begin to inquire now, to go into the details of those reasoning, that is when you realize that this issue is bigger than the face value, bigger than what we see on face value.
But Augustine, why didn't you tell us that this is what was happening then when the ladies were at the AFCON? You've brought it up now when they are home, and then why now?
Good question. If you read my articles during the AFCON, I had hinted, but I had said in that article, I said, look, I wouldn't want to say what I've heard of what I've gathered right now, because I don't want to disturb the team spirit. I want the team to do as good as they can. Imagine if we had started doing these stories then. What would have happened to the team at the AFCON at that point? I was being a patriotic Zambian. I set aside my journalism to be a patriot so that the team could do well on the pitch at the AFCON. And when they come back, then we can begin asking the questions and ask that we cleanse, we sanitize the team because
But
there is a problem.
but Mr. Augustine, the team is just also preparing for the World Cup. Don't you think this is going to disturb the team? Why can't you wait now and say, okay, let's do it after when the team comes back from the World Cup?
These things are continuing to happen. These things are continuing to happen. Why should we wait for things to continue to get worse because we're going to the World Cup? Why should we wait for things to get worse because we're going to the World Cup? I mean, if something wrong is happening, should it continue because we're going to the World Cup? And the World Cup, yes, we are going there. We have to go. We have to go and play. But why should we continue allowing the team to degenerate into such chaotic tendencies where a team has got no values? A team loses its culture. A team loses, its ethics, and it's going to the World Cup. So you would rather it goes to the World Cup and the international media picks that information at the World Cup. Then the local media, that is when they'll come on the story. Because at some point it was bound to happen. There are many stories in that team that we're not telling. We just need to concretize those stories. Because we need a team to go. In 1990, do you know that there was a Zambian player who was banned for doping?
Yep.
Do we dope those players? Some of those players, are they doped in the women's team? Do they go for doping tests? That's another story. That's another story that needs to be doped. You dope your players because you don't wait for the players to go to the international tournament. When they're doped there, the consequences will be worse. So you don't have to wait for all those things.
Okay.
Have you asked yourself why, for instance, where is Barbara Banda, our captain right now? Where is she? Where does she play? Where do we say she plays? When was the last time she played a match in China? Barbara went to Spain. What happened in Spain? Why hasn't she gone to Spain? Why hasn't she signed in Spain? If we ask those questions, because she is a star, we can't touch her. I have never known myself to create demigods in life. She's as human as everyone. We must be able to ask those questions. Okay, what is happening to Barbara? Why hasn't she gone to China? What happened in China? Do we
All right.
know what
So,
happened in China?
Augustine, you've talked about Barbara Banda, and actually, in one of your articles, you listed, and there are some of the questions that you are asking her to answer. Really, what is it that she's done?
You see, I need to talk to her. As a journalist, to be fair to answer those questions, I need to ask her directly and let me know what answers she'll give me. I'll soon be talking to her. I'm waiting for an opportunity. If she can answer those questions, well and good, I'll publish them. I'll publish those questions. We need to ask those questions. That's why I'm saying you ask these questions. These are questions that are happening. They're there. Let's ask. Let the people answer. Let the people tell us what is happening. Then we'll be able to know.
But you're the one doing the whistleblowing, Mr. Augustine. You are the one to give us the answers on this.
At an appropriate time, I'll give you the answers. Today I released one name, of a coach. When I started talking about it, I didn't say who the coach was. Okay. But because people are trying to say, well, no, this is, go to Bowleni. Go to Bowleni and find out what has been happening at Bowleni um, Sports Academy. Um, do an investigation, an independent investigation in Bowleni. You will cry. I can assure you. Go and find out what has been happening there.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Augustine. If you're joining us, you're watching a special edition of Ubuntu Sports, and we are hosting Mr. Augustine. He's in America. And my question, Mr. Augustine, really, did we have to wait for you to whistleblow? And you're not here in the country, you are in America. It's surprising because this issue was supposed to come from the ethics committee of FAZ to whistleblow, but I've not seen anything. Why you, Mr. Augustine?
Here's one thing. Not only the ethics committee, I do have fellow journalists who have witnessed, for instance, an altercation between Barbara and the team manager. Okay, I do have, individuals, journalists in the team, you know, but you see, being with the national team comes with certain elements of rewards. There are trips here, you become a media officer there, you go to Africa for 10 days, you have a few allowances, those things do, when you lose your independence in doing something, you do it at the mercy of the people that are giving you those opportunities. Unfortunately, these things could have been done even by my local fellow journalists. Why me? Having heard about them, having been an active and practicing journalist at a daily independent newspaper in Zambia, I was left with no reason but to start discussing them. That's my job. I speak for the voiceless, I speak for the weak in society. And that is what I've chosen to do. And that has been my life for the last 2 decades.
Exactly. So you speak for the weak
Mhm.
in society, and FAZ have heard your call. You said no, there are sex scandals there. That the ladies are being harassed, and they said, all right, fine with Mr. Augustine. We are going to set up uh, an inquiry. We are going to investigate this issue. Then at the appropriate time, we'll tell you the findings. Are you happy with that?
FAZ is an interested party. FAZ is an interested party. Um, so many officials at FAZ knew or know what has been happening and stayed quiet until we demanded an inquiry.
Including the president, Mr. Kamanga?
I mean, he has to speak for himself. I know that he's aware, but he has to speak for himself. I know that he's aware, but he has to speak for himself.
So you don't want FAZ to do the investigation. Then who should do the investigation? Should we give it to Zambia police? And
I think we need to give it to an independent body. We need to invite eminent people in society, find a local judge, find somebody at the National Sports Council, find somebody at the National Olympic Committee, get a very good disciplined teacher in society, you know, get an ordinary parent, couple of ordinary parents, get very good independent citizens. There are a lot of people who can do this job, but it shouldn't be fast. It shouldn't be left to the Zambia police. Let it be done under the auspices of the judiciary. Get the one parliamentarian to be there as an observer. You need to spread the tentacles so that the investigations are not wasted. You need to assure the people that you are dealing with people that are going to respect their confidence. Others are going to come in confidence. Others are going to come, and give it out just the way it is.
but how
Yeah.
rampant is this vice?
It's rampant. It's rampant. I mean, it's player to player, officials to players. It's rampant. It's rampant. It's happening. It's there. I mean, they can't dispute it. Have you heard FAZ say no? There's nothing happening like this. Yeah. Yes, they said in the statement we haven't received official. Okay, we haven't received official complaints. Okay, what are the unofficial complaints? What have you done about the unofficial complaints? Yeah, no. Those are the questions that we are asking. It's point blank. This is happening. I'm not speaking from without. I'm speaking to a cross sections of people. I'm not speaking alone. You know, I've talked to a number of people, some of whom send players to the national. They're scared of sending players to the national team.
Yeah, but aren't you scared, Mr. Augustine, that now parents can't won't release their children to go for the World Cup?
So it's better parents. Imagine you release your child who's 17, 18 years, okay, to the national team. A year later, this child becomes lesbian. How would you feel? Because they went to the World Cup? Because you wanted to release them to go to the World Cup?
So what you're saying, it's not
And you
just
don't
that.
talk about it.
So it's
And you
not
don't
that
you,
these
you
the
don't
ladies
want
are
to talk
being.
about it because there's a World Cup.
So Augustine, you're saying what you're saying is that these ladies are not just abused sexually by the males, but they're also forced in terms of to do lesbianism and other gay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And they are warned. You're not going to talk about these things. If you talk about them, you're not coming back to the national team. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay.
So what next now, Mr. Augustine?
I mean, we are waiting for the authorities to see what they will do. I mean, anybody, can write to FIFA. I'll follow up with a complaint to FIFA, give them who I've talked to so that they can follow up with some people, or not everyone, of course, those that are willing to talk. We'll submit part of the information that we have. We'll submit the detailed report that we have that, an independent organization did. We'll
But
submit.
Augustine, why are you rushing to FIFA before you finish the local procedure? You've not gone to the National Sports Council. You've not seen the minister or the PS.
No, I don't think I need to see the minister. The minister is biased. I've been given information of what he's been saying. He says there's nothing. He says it's political, and he's already dismissed it. So the PS, I don't know what he knows and understands about football. So I want to respect the fact that he's got limited understanding about what happens in the game, and you can't fault him. Why do I go to FIFA? FIFA frowns on third-party interference. And you want to be careful that people don't claim this third-party interference. We want to give FIFA evidence. We want to give FIFA a report that this is what is happening, and when the government moves in, you're going to say third-party interference. So you also do an independent finding, tell us what is happening in the team. If there are such abuses, make a decision. Yeah, no.
So, apart from the coach that you mentioned, who else is involved really in this scandal?
You said apart from I need to. In fact, I was planning because I just didn't have time. I need to make a few phone calls. Soon as I give an opportunity to people to speak, and then I'll be able to make sure that I publish who else is involved. I need to speak to some of those people that I've named. I need to ask them the questions, and if they want to talk, they'll talk. If they don't want to talk, then we'll publish what we know.
You actually wrote an open letter with it to the president. Are you expecting a response from that before you go to FIFA?
I hope we can get a response. I spoke to an official, who works in the office of the president, and I was, made to believe and understand that they will do their independent findings, and they'll go ahead and see what they can do. They'll go to the bottom of it. Let's wait
Did
what would come
Did
out
you
of it.
send an official communication to State House, or it was just that same Facebook
No,
post?
it was just an open letter that I did, and there was a correspondence. Unless they tell me that they need an official letter, then I'm happy to do that. But I think I needed to do what I did. It was critical at that time.
Thank you very much. I need to release you, Mr. Augustine, but your last word concerning the same issue we're discussing.
Um, it's unfortunate. It's sad that it's happening at the time we have to go to the World Cup, preparing for a very crucial tournament. My prayer is that we can rebound after this, reorganize the team, and ensure we develop a code of conduct, for the team. Uh, if it means players not visiting officials' rooms, players not visiting any room. If a player has to visit an official's room, she has to go there with a matron. We have to develop a code of conduct. I think that is key for us as a country.
All right, thank you very much. But before I let you go, we have a friendly that will be coming up in 30 minutes' time. Your predictions and what do you expect Mr. Stoney to do tonight?
Look, it's a friendly. It's good we are having one, and we need it. Moses is a rookie at that level. Probably his second biggest assignment as a coach, after the first one that we lost. I don't
And
think he's.
he's coming from German. Actually, he's coming from German. So is he an expatriate coach or a local coach, Mr. Augustine?
I haven't seen the terms. I haven't seen the terms of his engagement, so I don't. I don't know whether he's an expatriate or a local coach. I'll need to ask if FAZ can give us a position on that one. All I can do is wish them the very best. I hope they get a result they deserve. And if they get a win, I believe it will build their confidence. I just don't think Moses is ready to handle a national team. I hope we find a coach as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Augustine. This has been a special edition of Ubuntu Sports, and we're looking at the sixth scandal in the women's national team. You've heard it for yourself from Mr. Augustine. You've just been reading posts on his Facebook page, but tonight you've heard from his voice and you've seen him. So it is what it is until the investigation. For now, it's good night and God bless you.